Hi, and welcome to another edition of Jules Voto's Photo Focus. In this video, I'm going to be comparing Nikon's 135mm 1.8 Plena lens to Nikon's 70 to 200 2.8 Z mount at 135 millimeters. Now, I will be comparing them starting at 2.8. I've already done a video when I first got the Plena at 1.8 at f2 and down to 5.6, and the lens performed beautifully. So I thought there was no need to repeat those tests at 1.8 since the 7200 only starts at 2.8. So we'll be looking at them at 2.8, at f4, and 5.6. The camera was a Nikon Z8. It was set up on a sturdy tripod. Focus was set for pinpoint. I did a custom white balance for each lens. Metering was done with an incident light meter. Exposure was the same for all the images. So here you see my standard test setup. In all these images, you will see the 70 to 200 at 135 is the top image. The bottom image is the 135 1.8. My framing, as you can see here, is a little off. On the top image, there's a little more to the right. On the bottom image, is a little more to the left, but it doesn't really change the results any. So, thing you will notice here is, one other thing I just want to mention. Below the mannequin's head is an index card. At the top portion of that index card, it states what lens this is, what lens was being used for each of those images. And below that are the apertures that I used. You see here 2.8 is circled in red. 2.8 was used for this image. When you see f4 circled along with 2.8, that means it was f4. If 5.6 is circled along with the other two, that means it was shot at 5.6. Okay, so here we are, the full image. This is the full image right out of the camera. And these were JPEGs. I shot JPEGs for all these images. By the way, all these images are yours to download for free. I will put a link in the description below to a gallery where you could view and download these images. Now, the first thing that stands out here is vignetting. The 70 to 200 at 135 at 2.8 has a decent amount of vignetting. It's not horrible, but the 135 1.8 has none. Even at 1.8, when I shot this lens at 1.8, I didn't see any vignetting. That's because it has a very large image circle, and that's one of the things that Nikon seems to be very proud about, and they should be. Okay, so now we're going to zoom in. This is just the center portion, and I would say that the 135 1.8 is a little sharper. It's not a huge difference. Very impressed with that 7200. I've had that lens for a couple years, and it is an excellent lens. So I think these lenses are both very close. The contrast, the color, all looks just about the same. And if you didn't see them side by side, you'd see no difference. Slight difference with the 135 1.8. It's you look at it one time, you think they're the same, then you look at it again and you think the 135 1.8 is sharper. But you can look at these images for yourself and make your own determination. Now, one other thing I noticed in the images with the 135 1.8, if you look at those batteries, those 9-volt batteries at the bottom of the image, right below the mannequin, uh, on the battery on the right, you will notice some color fringing or chromatic aberration, I think, on some of those letters. Kind of has a red fringe to it. So I'm not sure. Is it chromatic aberration? You will notice it again at f4. I did not notice it when I tested this lens at 1.8 or at f2. and by 5.6 it disappears. So have a look at that. Let me know what you think about those batteries. Okay, so now we're going to look at the left side. I cropped this in for the left side, and you can see on the far left there, that's a 200 millimeter lens. You could see a little more of it on the image with the 135 1.8. That was just a little mistake in framing when I shot these images. I think there's a slight edge to the Plena, to the 135 1.8, especially noticeable on that 200 millimeter lens right at the edge. Now we go to the right side. The right side, I think they are closer. I still give a slight edge to the Plena, but not by a lot. I think that 7200 compares very well. A zoom, normally a zoom is not as sharp as a prime lens, and this zoom is pretty darn close. Okay, so now we're going to look at f4, and this is the full image, and I think you could still see a little bit of vignetting with the 7200. If you look at the upper right corner, even a little bit to the upper left corner. Like I said previously, there is absolutely no vignetting with the 135 1.8. I don't think I ever saw a lens with no vignetting wide open. I haven't shown you the 1.8 wide open, but at wide open, there's no vignetting. Okay, so now we're in the center at f4, and they're very close. I still see what I think may be chromatic aberration on the battery on the right, on the bottom. Now that's very, very small print on that battery, but look at it yourself, see what you think. I think it could be chromatic. I'm not sure. Okay, so now we go to the left side, and on the left side again, the Plena is sharper. Just look at that 200 millimeter lens on the far left. But that's not to be unexpected that a prime lens is going to be sharper, especially at the edges, than a zoom. But you will notice if you look at that Nikon EM right on top of the Nikon box and look at that lens, they're almost identical. Almost. I still think there's a slight edge to the Plena. So it's only at the far edge. Now we go to the far right. And again, here I think they are pretty darn close. Maybe a slight edge to the Plena. Uh, I don't know. Again, you look at these images and you keep looking at them and you zoom in, and sometimes you're just not sure. But I would say they are extremely close. Okay, so now we're going to look at the final aperture that I shot at, which was 5.6. I saw no need to go any smaller. I didn't need to go to f8 or f11. I rarely shoot at f8, yes, I will, but I rarely shoot at f11 because you start to lose sharpness due to diffraction. So, but if you look here, it seems to be that the vignetting is gone with the zoom, and sharpness is very close, if not the same, and the chromatic aberration, if that's what it is on the batteries, is gone. So here we zoom in to the center, and we could see that. If you look at the battery on the bottom right, you could see that there's none of that red coloration in the letters. But overall, the sharpness is good. The contrast is good on both. I see no difference here at 5.6. So now we're going to go to the left side, and this is a little strange to me. If you look at the upper image, the image with the 70 to 200 at 5.6, it's not as sharp. That 200 millimeter lens on the far left does not appear to be as sharp as it did at f4 or even 2.8. So I thought that was kind of strange. Usually as you stop down, a lens gets sharper. Maybe there was a problem with my test. I don't know. I really can't figure that one out. So now we go back to the right side. And again, at 5.6, these lenses are just about identical. Look at them, download them, zoom in. see what you think, but I think these are identical. So I think the 7200 puts in a pretty good performance against this 135 1.8 Plena lens, which has gotten rave reviews and is, the people are saying it's one of the sharpest lenses Nikon ever made. So let me know what you think. Leave a comment in the comments below. I'm going to put a link to that first sharpness test I did on this lens on the 135 1.8. So take a look at that, and there'll be a link to those images as well. So I normally publish a new video every Monday morning and Wednesday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So please subscribe to my channel, and I will talk to you next time.